Hello, this is Mark from I Am Organic Gardening, located in Zone 6B in the state of New Jersey, and welcome to Part 6, Soil, How to Grow Nutrient-Dense Fruits and Vegetables. And in today's video, I want to explain the two different types of mycorrhizal fungi. There's endo and ecto. There seems like there's more plants using endo mycorrhizal fungi on this planet than ecto at the moment. So how does this improve our soil, or how does this help build soil so quickly for us? This small fungi that lives deep in our soil, never at the surface. If you ever see white fungus at the surface, that's called saprotrophic fungi, and that's just a decomposer fungi. The type of mycorrhizal fungi grows deep in the soil off of the roots. Now let's see if I can slowly scrape away here some roots. This is an insect that's eating. Now let's see if I can get some roots here. There's a couple right there, and a couple finer ones here, and not too bad. So all these roots here, which build soil, these roots here that are in this clump, let me get a closer picture here. Those roots here, like this particular one, is needed to grow mycorrhizal fungi in the soil. It has to have a host. The fungi actually either invades the root and then makes it a home, or it will surround the root and make it its home, and then it can spread further out in the soil. There's so many benefits of it, but the main benefit I want you to remember and walk away with is that any living plant on this planet that uses mycorrhizal fungi, it will take the natural root system of a plant, the single root system of one plant, and make it 50 times larger through this fungi spreading out further away from the root zone. See, this root would be here. It would go further out here, and it can give 50% more coverage area, bringing in water and nutrients back to the main plant at the surface. Now we can see a lot more roots that I washed away a little bit here. Now, I want you to think of roots as two things. One, it stabilizes the soil, but also stabilizes the plant to hold it in place from severe weather. But also, the roots that go down, I want you to think of them as, let's say, drill bits or jackhammers or tunnelers. Now what that does, those roots will go down in the soil and open it up. Now when the mycorrhizal comes out, and I'll show you a picture of it later on, now when it comes out from the roots into the soil, what it's doing, let's say this is the main highway, it's going to build, let's say, streets and avenues off to the side. And then what it does, as you know in your community, you have a major highway that comes into an area or a town, then you have the side streets. That's what the mycorrhizal fungi does. This root is only covering this area right here. So if the fungi comes off to the sides here, is going actually more in the community and building a lot more area to bring in nutrients and water. Now here we have a very good illustration of what mycorrhizal fungi does on just one single root. Now that single root is here. Now what branches off to the side, these little white hairs here, are just the root hairs, and that brings in nutrients. Now you can see the difference on the left hand side on your screen is showing what happens when there's no mycorrhizal fungi, and on the right hand side is when mycorrhizal fungi has actually used the root as a host. Now endomycorrhizal fungi, which is this, actually will go inside, and there's little cells in the roots and invade each cell, which is fine because it works in what they call a symbiotic relationship. It is working with the plant. And the next picture I'll show you is actually a photograph, is when the mycorrhizal fungi goes into the root and what it looks like in individual cells. But you can see here on both sides, see how much it has increased the root system area to bring in nutrients. No mycorrhizal, then with mycorrhizal fungi. The little globes you see here all over are spores. Now that is just in case when this root dies off and another root grows down, it has to be close to those spores, and those spores will send a signal to the root to again invade it, working with the plant at all aspects to increase its root zone area by up to 50% more. Now, what's all nice about this is that, see here on this side, there's a few bacteria. Now, on this side, if you take a closer look here, then you'll notice there's a lot more bacteria and fungi growing in this new colony where all this mycorrhizal fungi is growing, which is good because now what happens is your nematodes are going to come in there, and also your protozoa is going to come in there and start feeding on this. It's actually opening up a colony, feeding the source of your bacteria and your fungi, but also being close to your root zone. When they get eaten, all those nutrients that are released now and will go back into that fungal hyphae and back into that root again. And it's just a quicker process. And I remember Dr. Elaine Ingram was saying in her speech one time, it says, how long does it take a plant to, when it has, let's say, lack of calcium in the leaf up on top, and says it's a signal down into the root system, out through the mycorrhizal fungi with sugars and proteins and carbohydrates, how long does it take for that plant to accept those nutrients back if they're there in this colony? It's amazing. It only takes 3 seconds for that plant to actually absorb the things that it needs. So that's why it has this beautiful colony of mycorrhizal fungi there all the time, recycling nutrients, and then within 3 seconds it can absorb what it needs back to the plant. So we have to make sure that that mycorrhizal fungi is there so it can absorb that in 3 seconds. And when that happens, guess what? Your plant does not have any stress. When it gets attacked by insects or diseases, it can maintain. Plus, this plant can communicate with another plant using the same type of mycorrhizal and ask for help. So now we have that picture I promised you. This is the root cells of the plant, individual cells here. And this is where the mycorrhizal has come in and has invaded that cell. It's doing it. It's okay. The plant is accepting this. It is not a problem. Now the other best thing about this is when it has invaded this cell here, and you can see throughout the roots on the outside, what it's doing is also protecting that root cell and all the other roots from other diseases, because this is here already on its own permission through the plant to defend it. So now something can't come along and invade it because this is there already. So again, all this is working with nature, and the only thing you have to do is provide an environment. And it's so easy to do. There's no science class you have to take or nothing else either. Nature is going to do this to your plants free of charge as long as you have that set up there. And it's easy by no tilling and by keeping a mulch layer on top and a living root in the ground. Just like I said, CPR to the soil. Now I want to show you something that, again, truly amazing. We have a strand of mycorrhizal fungi underneath the microscope at 400 magnification. And you can barely see here, but the nutrients and water is moving through this tube, which is the mycorrhizal fungi inside the soil that is there all the time, delivering plants your water and your nutrients. So a lot of you have noticed in the last couple of parts I've been using a plant as an example, and that plant is called purple dead nettles, also called red dead nettles too. A lot of people classify it as a weed. I do not, and it's really, if you do some research, it's considered to be in the herb selection of growing. So this plant actually grows mycorrhizal fungi in the ground. It's a herb. So now what I have over here, so here I have a complete list of all the types of mycorrhizal, which is the endo and ecto. The endo is at the top of the list, which 90% of plants use. Now, also listed in the columns here is all the different types of plants that use this type of endo, and ecto is below. I will put a link in the description below so you can print out this list for yourself. Now, this is very important. So, for example, let me get a better view here for you. So you can see here on the list all the herbs that are grown by you and by me that are in the soil, which is part of this purple dead nettle group, is also contributing endomycorrhizal fungi to the soil, and is a great thing. So when we consider something a weed, make sure it's on the list here. Like something like morning glory. Now I know you should not grow that in your garden by any means, but it's also, you can see that, you know, a lot of people think it's a weed, but it's there for a reason. It's growing mycorrhizal fungi, the endotype, which your tomato plant likes. Now the only problem about growing morning glory, it will take over and strangle out that plant, so it's not a good selection to use. But just make sure, and over here in the corner is your tomato plant, and that's their endo variety. Make sure anything that's your tomato plant is in this group, that you're going to be growing in the same area, so it can share the same type of endomycorrhizal fungi, like it says in this group. And this is towards the bottom of the list, and this is the ectomycorrhizal fungi. And you can see that pine trees are in there, your fir trees are in there, so that's not good to have near your garden. It's not going to share the same type of mycorrhizal fungi with your garden plants, like your tomatoes and your fruit trees all on top. I want to thank you very much for watching today's video. In next part 7, I want to explain to you, like the picture is showing you, is how soil aggregates are built by that mycorrhizal fungi in something called glomalin. And a lot of people pronounce it glomalin or glomalin. And that I want to dedicate its own part to, because it really, again, is something that is so fascinating. Just as mycorrhizal fungi, through the process of exuding something called glomalin, actually builds soil particles. And I will set up a demonstration with it and show you how easily it works and how it builds your soil. Something you cannot do using peat moss, but it's amazing how it works. Thanks very much, and I'll see you again shortly. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you can, please share it with other people, and I will see you again shortly with another video. Thanks for your time. Enjoy gardening.